basically I'm going to discuss about the application part. So even some in the first part, he was discussing about some practical aspects as well. So my concern, my main focus is to go about software applications and how the software can be used for writing systematic literature review papers. Right. So I believe you all can see my slide. Is it visible and clearly audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So basically, so we all know that we must have database access to do systematic literature reviews. When you are using software, basically, so we must have a database access login, and the input data files need to be generated using the databases. We have handy databases as highlighted in the first session. So Scopus, Web of Science are all these two databases and are well designed for bibliometric analysis, and so they have their own state-of-the-art features uh, to run the systematic literature review or basically run the systematic literature review outputs. So, but unfortunately, we don't have that access to those databases. So basically, we thought of doing this by using another method. So one is the best method is we can use that without the database access login is using reference management software. So basically, you must have basically Zotero and Mendeley reference manager. And with that, I'm trying my best to introduce how to do this systematic literature review process using these, basically to extract the data from the databases. We can use these two softwares, right? And by using these, then we can download the relevant file formats, and those can be uh, uh, used or entered into the software that we are using to run the necessary analysis, right? So basically, you must have the Zotero software. Zotero is a handy tool for reference management. Basically, it has been designed for reference management, but I found that this method can be used for bibliometric analysis as well. So, especially for data extraction. In that, basically, since we have limited time, uh, so I have given some links, YouTube links, uh, uh, to download and how to use the Zotero software. Some of you might have known about it, but so you can watch these videos, and you can install the software into your computer and practice it. So those 3 videos are done by me, which is in my YouTube channel. Then you can watch them, and you can play those videos and learn how to install and everything. Work with this software. And also we have a we must have a Mendeley software. So the same thing, the software does the same thing, reference management designed for doing managing the references, but we can use that as well. So we need both, right? So you can watch the video through this link and learn how to install and use those software by watching those videos. And apart from that, we must have a database logging, basically paid database. So basically, so we don't have that these days, but don't worry, we don't have to worry about that. So we can use Google. I have found a method how to use Google Scholar, basically to use to extract the data, extract the articles, download the article to do the bibliometric analysis. And apart from that, fortunately, we have the lens.org database. It is a freely available database, open database, and it has a lot of articles other than Scopus and Web of Science. So fortunately, we can use that database to get the relevant articles. Then my main focus during this session is to do all these. Use the Google Scholar and Lens.org to download relevant articles using the search strategy or search query, search algorithm on a particular subject area and download the relevant articles. And after that, these articles, according to the inclusion and exclusion criteria, we can remove unnecessary articles. We can retain high quality data in the sense that the articles that have followed quality methods to do their research. We can screen them out using different criteria. So the criteria can be used based on the Prisma framework, so which is highly recommended for systematic literature reviews, and it's a popular technique nowadays, and it's becoming trendy by the scholars using for their research. So therefore, basically, through Google Scholar and Lens.org, so we are going to run a analysis and write a paper later on within 1.5 hours. I have been given very short a time period. I'll try my best to do it very quickly. And so these are the recommended articles. During the last 2 years, I have published these articles. All of them are systematic literature reviews. So all of them are based on a Prisma framework. And the thing that I'm going to discuss with you included in this article. In all these articles, you can refer all these articles and you can use as a reference when you design your article, when you write your article. All these are published in highly indexed every grade journals. So therefore, so you can use them as a reference to frame your article, right? So, and time to time, I will refer all these articles to take some examples to explain the points that I'm taking to explain to you. And also, as highlighted in the first part, so basically, we have in a systematic, in a SLR, we have basically 3 stages. We need to plan the review and we need to conduct the review. And once the results are obtained, we need to report that in a standard way, right? Those are the basic 3 steps. And so this was basically discussed in the first part. And so even though this is because different books say different have basically different frameworks to explain the process, but I'm using this. This is something almost the same as the previous one. So this one, the same process, displayed in a different manner. So basically, I'm using in this session this process based on following using a different title to different area. So then I'm trying to going to follow these steps, right? First, we need to formulate a problem, right? Formulate the problem. So basically, what is this review? Why this is review needed? So need to be emphasized in this. I will discuss more on this later on once I get the point for discussion. Once I get the basically discuss in the reporting, I will discuss in detail how this can be written, right? So basically, we need to formulate a problem before starting the process. Then, based on the problem, we need to frame or set the research questions and objectives. Please remember, research questions and research objectives must be consistent. And based on the research question, based on the problem, you need to define the, you need to formulate the research questions, and research questions are answered by setting research objective, right? So basically, this is a practical example based on, as highlighted in the first part. Basically, SLR is to find out the current knowledge and the gaps. So basically, Stellar is a review study, which is done systematically. So in that, basically, what we are going to do is to find out the current knowledge. When you are going to do a research, so we are supposed to find out the current knowledge, right? And at the same time, if you know the current knowledge, you can find out the gap, right? So now I have taken a topic, workplace moments. Uh, uh, this topic is really HR related. So workplace romance. So basically, I want to find out the current knowledge on workplace romance, right? So what are the research objectives? What are the, simply we can set the research question at what is the current or prevailing knowledge on workplace romance? Then research objective, you can see, to identify the prevailing knowledge on workplace romance. So, and also we can find out once the first question is set, obviously we can set the research gaps. We can find out the research gap so that we can develop a research question like this: what are the knowledge gaps prevailing on workplace romance, and to find out, to identify the prevailing knowledge gaps on workplace romance. So those are the research questions and objectives, and basically so we are targeting to find out the gap, knowledge gap, right? So likewise, we can find out theoretical gap, we can find out contextual gap, we can find out the empirical gap, right? We can find out the seminal author gaps, right? So different gaps can be identified using uh, in a systematic literature review, right? So basically, we are supposed to find out the current knowledge and gap. So basically, in this, I'm going to find out the knowledge gap on workplace romance. And you can find different examples, which has been quoted from one of my articles. So this is gender stereotype change outcomes, the systematic literature review. So this is the question and this is the objective. And you can find these in this article that has been recommended in the slide. And the link has been linked to this article has been given. And so this is how I quoted these research questions and research objectives in the article, so you can read them. And also another paper. So literally, theoretically, we must include both research questions and research objectives in the article, but the journal editor sometimes may change as their journal guideline. So therefore, in this case, I was instructed to remove the research objectives and keep only the research questions. So therefore, I included only the research questions and deleting at the reviewing stage. They asked me to delete the research objectives. So then I deleted the research objectives and kept only the research question, right? So you can find this information in this article. And this is how these research questions are was written in the article. And so we have another one. And this journal wants me to write only the research objective rather than just they ask me to remove the research question, right? So based on their preference and reviews, then I included only the research question. So therefore, basically, theoretically, we must include both because Prisma guideline says we must include these two research questions and research objectives, but that can be changed, that may be changed due to the journal preference, but we are going to submit. Right, so this one again you can find from this link. And also as highlighted in the first part, so we need to develop a protocol. So what is a protocol? Protocol is a research proposal. Protocol is the terminology normally the people use in systematic literature review is protocol designing. So it's something like a proposal, right? So we need to develop a proposal initially before going into the study as we normally do it for the normal research. And that must be reviewed. For example, people who come from medical sciences, health sciences, if you are doing any research relating to the health, human health, so you need to register your proposal or protocol in international recognized institutions like Prospero in UK, which is uh, normally registered under the national NHH, National Health Department in UK. So Prospero code need to be obtained in order to make the entire research process formal, right? So you need to have definitely you need to register your protocol, and sometimes once your protocol is sent for them to review, then they evaluate, they review, and they give comments to revise and issue a number, registration number, which is basically done to avoid the duplications, because sometimes the same protocol can be tested by someone else, right? So please remember this is applicable to the health sciences, but social sciences, normally some journals require once you say, for example, if we are coming from management disciplines, someone doing health related research like employee stress, human well-being, depression, or something like that. So in that case, when you submit your research to a journal, they ask Prospero code or Cochrane code, right? So therefore, in that case, we need to register our protocol with them and have a registration number, and that must be mentioned uh, 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 under the abstract, right, of your article when you are submitting. Without a registration number, they don't publish. So once you submit your research uh, to a journal, then normally that is rejected. So therefore, in order to avoid the rejections, you need to make it entire process formal and get the relevant authorities approval, uh, and that need to be registered, right? So you can find the instructions and guidelines from the Prospero organization in UK. So they register, there is application procedure, and you need to develop a proposal, a protocol, maybe two-page document. So including all these informations, I will tell you what you can incorporate in the protocol, and submit. There is an application procedure. You need to download the application and submit it. So especially those who come from medical sciences and health related health sciences, right? So, but fortunately, we don't want. But some journals, even though we are from management and business field, social sciences, some journals require us to uh, register our protocol and have a registration number. So in that case, we need to, before conducting the research, we need to develop a protocol and uh, register it, right? So what need to be included in a protocol? Protocol is something like a proposal, right? So basically, article selection method can be included. Basically, article selection based on the Prisma guidelines, because Prisma is an organization designed or developed for the providing guidelines to systematic literature reviews. It's a Canadian organization, so highly recognized for systematic literature reviews and highly recommended for systematic literature review, right? So they provide 27 items that provide guidelines how to conduct, how to design, how to conduct, and how to report the research, which is basically the systematic literature reviews and especially meta-analysis, right? So I'm not going to talk about meta-analysis. We can discuss it another day, but my focus mainly is on systematic literature review. And year range, you can incorporate since you are expert in your area, so you can determine which year range you are taking. But please remember, you need to be very careful when you include a year range that must be justified with reasonable reason, right? So otherwise, there is a high possibility to reject your article at the desk review level. Because, for example, I have included in this because my emphasis is to focus about the workplace Roman research to find out the current knowledge and the to identify the gap, right? So basically, when I run the search, when I enter the search strategies into the database, the articles generate, the first year the articles generated was 1991. So then I decided to take from 1991 to 2020 up to now, up to date. So all the articles published during this period are taken into consideration for the review, right? So then journal editors might ask, why did you take the 1991? Then I have a just clear justification that I have included 1991 because research outputs generated from that year onwards, afterwards, right? So likewise, you must have a clear justification to include year range. For example, in one of my another research, so I took the last 50 years research, especially which was on gender stereotype change, gender stereotype research. I reviewed that. So for that, I took uh, 1970 up to 2022 because that was done last year. So last 50 years, 2020, yeah, that was started in 2020. The last 50 years publications were taken. Then one reviewer has asked, why did you take that year? 1970. In my article, I have justified that the main reasons to take that year and afterwards, right? So therefore, so basically these are inclusion criteria. So you can simply you can put here like inclusion criteria, right? Here is the inclusion criteria. Article inclusion criteria. So you can include the article from the range and subject area because databases categorize their articles stored in their database by different subject disciplines, right? So we can take management and accounting related articles only. We can take medical science related articles only. Likewise, engineering related articles only. So, right? So under these subjects, under these main subject areas, they have categorized their articles. So basically, we can take. I have decided to take all these. Right, all the publications published under different disciplines were taken into consideration for this review, and especially we can decide the language of article. So databases have publications in different languages, right? So we are readable only the English. So then we decided to take only the article published in English. And keywords, there are some keywords as in the first session highlighted. So databases gives different keywords, right? So by keywords, we can search, we can screen the articles, right? So sometimes in some articles, there are some keywords which are not relevant, right? So therefore, for our study, so therefore we can exclude those keywords, articles having those unwanted keywords, right? So therefore, we can simply screen by keywords. Then you can simply mention the keywords that you want to include and keywords that you want to exclude. Keyword that you want to include in the sense that keywords that included in the articles that you want to include, right? So need to be mentioned here. So that must be determined at the protocol designing level. And basically, so you can determine the source type under which your publication, your journal, your article, or the authors have published their articles. We have different publications as highlighted in the first part. So we are going to take only the journal, right? So for this as well, for each of these inclusion criteria, please remember you must have clear-cut definitions. You must have clear-cut justifications to include why you decide to include this criteria, right? So journals there are, because when you go through my articles recommended in the previous slide, so you can find clear cut what do you call it, justifications for selecting all these type of inclusion criteria, because strong citations, seminal citations are there. So based on that, I decided to take only the journal article, conference article, perspective article, viewpoint articles, case studies, books, book chapters, all rejected, all excluded from the review. Because once you enter the search query, all these art publications, all the articles published in all these sources are retrieved, right? So we can remove unwanted things, because as highlighted in the first session, because we need to input high quality data, because our task is to, because systematic literature review is a scientific one, systematic one, which has a rationality, and which is mathematical, right? So it is quantitative. So in that case, we are going to produce a high quality output, rather without any bias, right, or subjectivity, right? So the article we are going to generate is a high quality one, right? So for that, we need to make sure, we need to reveal that we use high quality methods. We use high quality articles as an input, right? So when you take garbage in, then obviously you get the garbage out. So therefore, so we need to make sure that we are entering high quality data. So therefore, normally there are strong citations to include only the journal articles for the review, right? Because there are justifications. Journal uh, go through rigorous peer review process, and indexing, and strong justifications to include journal articles are there. So we can cite them, and you can refer, you can see my articles and take those citations, and you can cite my articles as well. And type of study. So basically, we are taking only the empirical quantitative studies. So they are again, you can justify why you are taking empirical studies, because empirical studies are highly recommended for systematic literature reviews and meta-analysis. Basically, since we are doing a systematic literature review, quantitative empirical studies are recommended, because normally there is a norm that quantitative empirical studies are high quality. There may be some arguments, but we need to make sure there are different internationally recognized quality assessment criteria. By using those quality assessment criteria, we can determine whether a particular empirical study is a high quality one or not. So that is done at a certain step at the screening level. I will talk about that later on. So once I discuss the point Prisma framework, right? So basically, we need to think about empirical studies. My advice is to take empirical studies, but in case sometimes you don't have sufficient articles, if it is a newly developed area, newly developed, since for example, workplace romance have been emerged around 2000, uh, right? So the subject area. In that case, we can't find articles around 2019, 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? So in that case, basically, even there are articles, very few. So therefore, taking articles after 2015, and then you can find more articles on that. So in that case, if you are taking only the empirical studies, sometimes you may get one or two articles, right? So taking less than 10 articles is, sometimes there is a notion that you can't generate very good systematic literature review, right? Uh, but in case that depends on the context, right, and the subject area, right? Basically, I'm suggesting you to take only the empirical studies. At the same time, you can do, once you download a particular database output, then you can do 3 articles, or for maximum 4 articles if you are taking empirical studies from the one database. One is systematic literature review. Second one is conceptual paper development. Third one is the perspective paper. Fourth one is the meta-analysis, right? So nearly based on one database, you can write 4 articles and publish as a 4 separate publication, right? So I have done that. right? So all these are different perspectives, and one is different from the another, right? You don't quote for plagiarism, right? So basically that can be done. So that's why I'm asking you to take only the empirical studies, conference papers, case studies, book chapters. Books are less reliable. Uh, uh, and normally not recommended. But in case if there are no findings, if the context or the subject area is very new, you can take them into consideration and with strong justification. And methodological quality, as I told you, there are different criteria. By using different criteria, and tools have been developed by Cochrane and Prospero and the Prisma organizations to assess the methodological quality of the articles we are taking for the review, right? So I'm simply using a simple technique, articles that follow the quantitative methodology. I have used a strong citation for this to design the articles followed the quantitative methodology. You can read my articles and find out citation uh, uh, for the justification for this decision, right? So basically, we can summarize the sample size, whether the study is a cross-sectional study or a longitudinal study, whether that is the study type, and whether they have used structural equation modeling, regression, correlation, that is the analytical analysis method they have used. Basically, in order to determine a particular subject, particular study is a quantitative, empirical one, we can use these criteria. Basically, sample size, whether it is a cross-sectional or longitudinal study, or whether uh, uh, what is the analysis method, right? So to determine whether it is a quantitative or a qualitative. If it is a qualitative, we can exclude that. If it is a quantitative, satisfying these criteria, then we can decide to include that article. So this is for the workplace romance. So these are the criteria that I'm going to use. An analysis method, basically, we can use keyword co-occurrence analysis, keyword co-occurrence analysis, or we can use term co-occurrence analysis, right? And there are so many other analysis. These are basically linked to the thematic and content analysis, which can be done with the software, right? So term co-occurrence, terms used in an article can be analyzed. What are the terms? In order to find out the commonly investigated area, we can find out the terms, key terms. What are the key terms used in an article? And by simply taking keywords, given author keywords given just under the abstract, we can identify what are the commonly addressed keywords, right? Keywords basically denote the content of an article, right? So basically, by using keywords, we can determine which area, which keywords have been mostly investigated and least investigated. Based on that, we can find out what are the gaps and what are the current knowledge, prevailing established knowledge. That's why I'm taking keyword co-occurrence analysis or a term co-occurrence analysis, which is available in the software that I am going to use, right? And reporting structure is the Prisma guideline. And these two, so these are the inclusion and exclusion criteria and reporting structure, and all these need to be reflected in the protocol. And if it is a health science related, this must be in a two document. Along with this, we can incorporate a justification, problem, objectives, research questions, and the researchers' names, profiles, and the timetable, right? Along with this, you need to incorporate all these and prepare a two-page document maximum and send it to the registration, right? So at least, for example, so in order to make it formal, for example, you are going to apply your R&D allowance based on a systematic literature review. right? So in order to make it formal, you need to prepare a proposal, protocol, including all these information, and send it to the faculty R&D committee and get it approved. So then, obviously, so that is formal. And you can mention all these in the abstract or in the justification or in the problem statement or in the introduction of your article that you are going to design, right? So in order to make it formal, so then the reviewers and the journals will consider that. Right. So reporting structure is the Prisma guideline. So I will tell you later on that. Then so another one, basically, this is the one, this is the common one, right? So this is the one I'm going to use for the workplace romance, right? Prisma guideline, search strings that I'm using, only the workplace romance, 2 words, 2 terms, right? So here, these are the inclusion criteria. And databases, we can use Scopus, Web of Science, Taylor and Francis, Crocus, Google, Emerald, uh, 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 Lens.org, Dimensions, PubMed, Cochrane, right? So there are so many databases, right? So, but among all these, the best are the Scopus and Web of Science, according to my understanding and experience on working with them. Unfortunately, we don't have the access. In order to get the access all these 2 databases, we need to pay the billions and million dollars for that. But we don't have the access. But fortunately, we have the lens.org database access, and I will teach you how to do that. And the only one, Google. Google is not a database; it's a search engine. Once you enter the search queries, the search strategy in the Google search engine, there is a huge number of articles or huge number of results generated at a few seconds, right? So maybe sometimes unwanted. So that's why, since it's a search engine, Google is not recommended for SLR. So there may be more garbages, more unwanted things can be generated, and researchers' time and effort may be totally wasted when you are when you are doing SLR with Google. But fortunately, I have found a method using the reference management software and tell you how to do that, right? So, and it will work. An analysis method, keyword concurrence analysis, and reporting structure, Prisma, and project timetable can be incorporated since this is needed to be submitted for a registration. And search strings as Boolean operator. So we can simply use workplace romance, right? So since this is, I can't find a similar word, synonym, antonym, or simply, since this is, I'm talking about the basics, so let's enter this only this word and see how many articles will be generated. And also we need to mention, this is the Prisma requirement. So we need to incorporate a statement how we did the screening, because in a systematic literature review we are supposed to reveal the entire process was done without any bias, and subjectivity, all systematic, right? So that must be reflected throughout the process. So entire process was done systematically and scientifically, right? Without any bias, without any subjectivity, right? So then articles, especially in case of article selection, uh, we are supposed to reveal or include some statements, which is a Prisma requirement in our article, right? So one is the authors independently review each and every article. For example, your research team consists of 3 members, right? So the article search, article screening, and eligibility checking in the sense that the quality of each article checking was done independently. And if there are any disagreement about the inclusion or exclusion of a particular article, must be resolved by agreement. And we can calculate inter-rater reliability, so which is a mathematical formula, but fortunately that is not essential for the systematic literature reviews. But when it comes to a meta-analysis, we need to calculate the inter-rater reliability. There is a formula and calculate the inter-rater reliability of assessing the each and every journals, not the journals, articles, whether it is included or excluded. For example, one particular reviewer in the sense that author, if suppose that you are only the researcher or only the author who are going to do the research, there are no other researchers in your research team, individual researcher going to do a systematic literature review. In that case, how you can find another researchers to review the articles, whether it is included or excluded? In that case, you can ask your peer reviewer, right? You can submit to a journal. So there are so many journals. You can submit your protocol, because last week I reviewed a particular protocol, which is totally a health science related journal, and authors are from South America. That is an open review. They have submitted a protocol to a particular journal, internationally highly indexed journal, and they send me the protocol to review, right? So then in that protocol, basically 2-3 page document was there, and in that basically they have explained everything, how the process was going to be conducted, right? So in that case, I reviewed that paper, and I had some comments and send it to them again back. So like that. So you can submit in your proposal to the protocol to get some comments whether it is correct or wrong, and whether some articles are missing, important articles are missing, whether the methodology is correct, right? So you can submit your proposal for the protocol to a journal and get it published as a protocol, right? So then the entire process is clear, 100% formal. And so these need to be reported in your article. So whether how you assess the quality, how you review whether inclusion, whether a particular article is included or excluded, right? So the norm is to assess it each at basically at the searching, at the inclusion, at the screening. Each and every reviewer in the research team need to be assess each and every article against the inclusion criteria individually, and ultimately calculate how many agreements, how many disagreements. There is a formula by applying total articles, how many agreements, how many disagreement, common agreement, common disagreement, right? So there is a formula, but then the numbers need to be applied to the formula, then you can find the inter-rater reliability. And this is essential for meta-analysis, not for the systematic literature reviews. Fortunately, we don't want to calculate, but if you can calculate it, your quality will be high. Quality of your research will be high. Right. So at least you need to include a statement how the screening was done. Right. So you need to include authors done the review or the assess the articles, screening independently. If there is any disagreement about the inclusion or exclusion of an article, that was resolved through consensus. So that's the common statement, and you can find that statement in my article that I have recommended, and you simply can paraphrase that statement in your articles and citation. Right. So first, I'm going to search with Google. Right. So you directly need to go to the Google, and in the Google Scholar, right? The Google Scholar, you need to type workplace Romans and just search without asterisk mark, right? Because you are using only the Google in this case. And so here you have nearly 268,000 results.
So we can't see your screen, sir.
Ah, really? Okay. I will share that. Now it's visible, I guess. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Right. So you directly go to the Google Scholar and type the search query or search uh, string, search terms, right? So without any asterisk mark, you can simply type the words. Then you get nearly 268,000 results. This is really difficult to screen out, right? And maybe sometimes in this, there are so many unwanted garbage, right? Therefore, we need to exclude them, right? So how we can do that? We can go to this menu and we can click the advanced search and we can cut this entire phrase and copy here. And we need to delete this. With the exact phrase bar, in the exact phrase bar, you can type the search term. Then you need to click this button because in order to avoid unwanted article generations or the information generations, you can limit the articles or the study uh, on workplace romance reflected in the title of the article. So the articles which are mentioning the workplace romance in the title are detected by this search algorithm, right? So then basically I decided to take from 1991 to 2023 according to the inclusion criteria. Then search. So then we get nearly 143 results, right? So since this is a practical session, I just want to reduce it further down. So then I'm taking 2000 only for these purposes, for the practice purposes, from 2015 to 2021. So then we get nearly 63 results, right? But so journals may ask, why did you take this year range? Was there any specialty? Justify, right? Otherwise, if you can't justify, then they may reject your paper, right? So for the sake of convenience of explaining and managing all these with a limited time period, I'm reducing. That's my justification to reduce, take only the 2000 last 5 years, 7 years result, 8 years result, right? So now what we need to do is you need to use Mendeley, right? So here, search with Google. Search articles in Google. So in the steps, install Mendeley Reference Manager. Before searching, you need to install the Mendeley Reference Manager into your computer, right? So in this YouTube video, you can watch how to do that. Watch this video. And install a Mendeley Web Importer, the second step, right? Again, you can watch how to do that in this video. All these are in my YouTube channel. So then go to the Google Scholar. Then we did that. Search articles, that is automatic exclusion of articles that do not meet inclusion criteria and fill the Prisma framework. So now we need to use the Prisma framework, right? So here is the Prisma framework, as you can see, right? So in the first session, there were so many other frameworks, but as this is the Prisma framework and highly recommended for systematic literature review. So I advised you to use the Prisma framework rather than the other. If you are going to use other frameworks, which are almost the same, right? So you must have a clear justification. You need to justify, because sometimes the one journals who know very much, who are interested very much about Prisma, sometimes may raise questions, why didn't you use Prisma, right? So as now it's becoming very popular, and you can find all of my articles, I have used Prisma framework, and which is highly recognized and popular, right? Now and Cochrane studies, Prospero, Prisma organizations are working together for further development of the systematic literature review. So therefore, they are working collaboratively. So therefore, the Prisma framework is getting wider attention by the academia, right? So therefore, I advise you to use the Prisma. This is the Prisma framework. Say, for example, initially how we get from Google, we need to fill simultaneously this framework, right? So from the Google, we got 63 documents, 63. And once we get into the lens.org, we can fill that, how many articles generated initially. Then we need to merge these two database results and find the duplicate. Sometimes the articles in the Google may find, can be found in the lens.org as well, right? So then duplications are there. We need to remove duplicates after combining them. And so then duplicates need to be reported here, right? And we have in the Prisma framework, they have given two sub-steps at the screening stage, automatic exclusion and manual exclusion. So automatic exclusion is normally done at the database level, because can you remember initially we got 200 and nearly 68,200 and nearly 68,000 results from Google. Then we excluded that using the year range functionality, right? Year range we took only from 1991 to 2023. Then you can simply mention the number you excluded, right? So out of you finally got 143 articles when you took the this year range, right? So 268,000 minus 142, 43. Then this is the answer that you excluded, right? So you need to mention all these. You need to be really frank on all the process that you have done and need to be reported, right? Everything what you did. And so, for example, we can find out the English conference papers, dissertations, book chapters, books, and you can decide whether to include and exclude. In my inclusion criteria, I have decided to exclude all these. And by looking at these results, then we can simply exclude all these articles. Then manually, after doing this, we need to manually exclude each and every reviewer. Reviewer normally are the reviewers are the authors of your research, right? So can individually, manually refer each and every abstract and find out whether it is a relevant article which meets the inclusion criteria or not. If it is not meeting the inclusion criteria, then you decide to exclude, right? So that must be independently done. And finally, once the entire screening process done, then you can agree how many articles to include and how many articles to exclude if there are through consensus, through discussion, right? So, so discussion ultimately results to finally include articles. Then with strong justifications, you can discuss. Then finally, you can decide which articles are retained. That's not end, right? So then you need to go to the other step. So that is basically assessing eligibility. Eligibility is methodological quality of each and every article. As I told you, we need to input high quality articles for the review, not the garbages, right? Not the unreliable data. So unreliable articles. So therefore, we need to check whether the methodology they followed to conduct the research was quality, in high quality, right? So we found, for example, so these titles may be changed depending on your research area. So I found by the manual, again, this need to be manually done by the reviewers independently. Then we found basically methodology not clear in some articles, right? So maybe one or two articles are there, then you can mention that. So other than those main reasons, you may have other reasons, right? So when you are assessing the methodological quality, so then in the we have found qualitative papers which was not detected by the software and the Google or the database, right? By manually reading article, we found that this article is a qualitative study. So then we found 10 articles there, right? So number can be simply mentioned and exclude, and viewpoint articles and case studies, right? So these reasons may be changed depending on your study and the study area, right? So, so simply we can exclude articles based on that. And all these, the screening, we have basically screening stage has two sub stages need to be done. And so which has basically three sub stages, excluded automatically, excluded manually, and excluded manually, right? So these things need to be done uh, at the initial screening level, right? So since we are in the screening now, how we can do that? So we can simply do that. So I have installed the reference manager Mendeley here, and ping to my taskbar. Then I can simply open that. Right. So this is my Mendeley reference manager. I have logged in, right? So you can watch the video and how to install and how to use everything explained in that video, right? So at the same time, you minimize it and you have Mendeley web importer connector to Chrome. If you are using a Mac, you can install or Edge operating Edge Microsoft Edge browser. So you can link, you can um, install this extension to the browser, right? Since I'm using the Chrome, so Mendeley has the web importer connector for Chrome. So you can simply Google it and find out the Chrome extension, and you can install that extension to the Chrome, right? So this is the Mendeley web importer, and you simply click that. Right. Now it's generating. All these results are dragged or detected by this Mendeley software. So for example, how does workplace romance influence employee performance, right? So you can find out that article. Here you can find out that article, right? So all these results generated on this page are detected or extracted by this software, right? Now what we need to do is to bring or carry all these results to the Mendeley software, right? So Mendeley software has a web version and the offline version. This is the offline version, right? And so you can have the online version by clicking this uh, link. view library. This is an online version of the offline version, right? So the same thing, the same software appeared online, right? So in that, you can create a folder. So new collection, right? New collection, you can type workplace Romans test 1, right? And synchronize it. So synchronizing functionality automatically synchronize all the new entries created is synchronized with the offline version, right? And you can find the same in here. And once it is synchronized. Otherwise, you can simply create workplace Romans test 1 here. Right? So that must be synchronized. I don't know why it is not synchronizing. It must be synchronized. So once you've done any change with the online version, that must be reflected in the offline version as it is. Right? So in order to save the time, I'm just creating the same thing in the offline version. Now what we need to do is, so we have the created file. I have created 2 files, need to be deleted one, right? So this folder is empty. Now what we need to do is to bring that detected all the list in the first page of the Google into this particular folder. Right. So we have the list. We have the list, and we can generate it. This is the first page of the generated list. Then we can select the particular folder, right? So otherwise, I think this has not been refreshed. Again, you can close it. You can simply refresh it, and you can click it again. Click the browser connector again, and it is again reading and extracted all the data on this page into this particular software. Right, now done. Now there may be workplace Romans. So we have created this one. Test 1, we need to synchronize it. And again, close it. Right. So maybe sometimes there is a problem, but theoretically it must be there, right? So workplace Romans test 1 must be there here. So we assume that this is the one we created, right? Now, so we can check this folder, and it appeared here. Now we can add. So we need to check whether all these available here. Again, so whether test is empty, we need to delete this one, because we need to make a new folder. right? So we got it automatically, right? So now it must be there. Now, so we can refresh it in order to detect the changes we did. Now again, click this. Now you can select. Here you have the folder. Now check this one and select all and add. Right, done. So now all the articles or the studies in the on the first page now being detected. Right. So now just click the second page and do the same, and third page and fourth page and do the same until you get all these 6 to 3 results into the software, Mendeley software, right? So now you can synchronize it. Then automatically the exports we did can be seen here, right? So now you can, so we have basically folder pane and the item pane in one particular folder. And if you click here, so the reference bibliometric metadata can be seen here in this pane. So basically we have 3 pane, right? Folder pane and the item pane in a particular folder, and the item information, metadata or bibliometric information in a particular item of a particular item are displayed here. So for example, this is the title and authors, year. So year has not been detected by the software. Volume, issue, pages, abstract was not detected. There are some errors, missing values. So then how we can do that? So you just go to the your keyboard and press the Control A. So once pressing the Control A, then automatically all these lists, items in the list automatically selected. Then right click on it and update details. Then automatically all these informations are being updated. Right? You can see all these items are being updated. Right? So now done. Now you can find informations here. Right? You can find all these information. And this one again, some informations are missing. You have this information as well. Right, one by one, you can check whether all these informations have been detected or not. We can't believe the software, so therefore, it's better to check one by one whether all these informations have been detected or not by the software. Now done, right? So now you can, if the let's say, let's find another one which has not been filled, missing, still have the missing values here. Okay, this is having almost having. Suppose this item does not have the keywords, right? The keywords already missing. In that case, what you need to do is sometimes the software makes some errors, right? So in that case, some information still missing even though we perform the update functionality, right? So in that case, you can directly go to the individual article. How you can do that? So here the article link is there. You can click that, right? So once clicking, you are dragged down to the original article. If it is open access article, if it is not open access, you can find the original website data. The article is on, right? So in that, basically, you can copy manually the relevant abstract, if it is abstract is missing, and relevant keyword if it is missing in the software, and copy and paste manually, right? So the keywords, simply you can paste it, right? So that's how you can fill the missing values. Right, done. Now, by using the inclusion criteria, now you can, one by one, you can read. Here you have the abstract, right? You can enlarge a bit by dragging this leftward, and you can simply read. Authors can read each and every abstract. Sometimes abstract may not provide all the informations in some abstracts. In that case, you can click this URL and you can directly go to the website of this article or the full page, full version of this article. If sometimes there are subscribed version, not open access, everyone can't access, even if we are not subscribed to this journal. So in that case, you are only seeing the abstract. So in that case, you can you need to find a mechanism to access the full article, right? So the full article need to be reviewed because, for example, in this case, when you are going to assess the methodology, right? So in some abstract methodology not clearly explained. So in that case, you are mandatory to refer or the go through the methodology section in the article. So that is maybe in the middle of the article. So in that case, you need to refer that. You need to go through that. So for that, obviously, you need to download the full article, right? So in that case, sometimes some abstract contain all the necessary information. So then based on that, we can decide whether a particular article is a methodologically quality one or not. Or at this level, we can decide whether it is whether that article meets the inclusion criteria that we have already taken, right? And based on that, we can decide whether it is included for the review and excluded for the review, right? So that can be done at this level, and simultaneously while searching and screening, we can fill the Prisma diagram, right? And finally, we can, after filling all these, then we can decide how many articles can be included for the review, right? So then this framework filling process done, right? Still we are in the process. We can go for the offline version, right? So simply you can go through each and every, let's say you think that this is not needed, this is out of the inclusion criteria, then simply you can right click on it and remove from the folder. And so if it is a, let's say, not an empirical study, you just directly go to the relevant box and mention methodology is not clear, maybe sometimes, right? Or maybe it's the qualitative study, then put a mark here, one, right? So one by one, you need to manually review each and every article according to your inclusion criteria, right? So that's done. And you have been given art sorry, sample frameworks that have been used in my articles. The way how I did, you can just refer my article, and this entire process was clearly explained, have been clearly explained in my article. Just go through. This is one example, and this is another example, and this is another example, and this is another example in 3 articles, right? Then we can, so let's assume that we done all these screening parts. We done all these, let's say all these process done. The screening and eligibility checking, those 2 steps already done. Now after doing that, we can decide how many articles are going to be included for the final review. So these are the high quality articles, right? Empirical articles according to our inclusion criteria, right? So I have finalized the one in order to save the time. So I did explain the process how it is done. Let's say, so this is the final data set. After doing all the screening, this is the final list of articles retained for the review, right? So now what you can do is just uh, using your keyboard, just press Control A, then all the items selected, then right click on it and export, right? Export, because there are the Mendeley software gives three options, three file types, right? Bibliometric files. So select this one, RIS file format, and export to the destination folder. So I'm exporting to the download folder by just clicking this one. Automatically, it is saved in the download folder. I'm not going to do this because I have already done it in this folder, right? So this is the Mendeley workplace Romans Mendeley from Google Scholar RIS file. I've done it earlier in order to save the time. So now what we need to do is, this is the final file. Suppose that you are using only the Google Scholar as the uh, search source, because you are taking articles only from the Google Scholar. You can decide. Let's say that's up to you to decide whether you go for the databases or you are, ending the process with the Google, right? So that depends on your area. Suppose that plenty of articles, sufficient enough article have been already generated. Let's say you are having, let's say, 163 final retained articles after excluding all these unnecessary articles. So 163 articles, the researchers can decide the amount of articles that you are going to include into your review enough, right? So that decision can be taken by the reviewers, right? So that depends on the subject area that you are going to research, right? Suppose that we decide the Google Scholar is the only one. Because at this point we have read so many times each and every abstract, and you as expert on this area can determine whether the generated articles are sufficient enough, because you believe that all these content generated is address basically contain address research, currently prevailing research are there, right? So in your list all the uh, 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 studies that must be included have been included, right? So in that case, you simply can decide going for only the Google Scholar is enough. You can justify that. So suppose that that decision has been made by us. Now we can use the Google Scholar for the analysis, right? This is the retained article list, and how you can analyze that. Before that, I need to go to the PowerPoint, right? So now you need to extract the data. Mendeley RIS, if you are using Mendeley for Google information, so we can use the RIS format, right? So I will do the next one, how we can use, how can generate a article list by lens.o after doing this one, right? So now we need to go to the software that we are going to use. The software is Wasweaver. It is an open source software, freely available, anyone can access. So you need to go to the Google Scholar, Google it simply. So this is that is downloading is a simple two-step process. You can directly go to the Google and search Wasweaver. So when you are dragged into the Wasweaver official site, and in that site so you can download the software here. So you are supposed to download the latest version, one I think 619 is there. So which has other options. 1619, 18 is there. Again 169 here we have the 1619 latest version, so download that, right? I have already done because I'm doing the research with this software. So in my computer I'm having that post viewer. Taking some time to load. And this is the interface of the software. This is very simple. It's a handy tool for systematic literature review, especially for keyword concurrence analysis. You need to press this button, and you need to select this one. Don't select this one, the second one. Create a map based on bibliometric data, the second option, and press the next button. And in that, you can use, if you are using a database, you can use this option. Since we are using reference manager software, we can use the second option. So because we are going to use the RIS file, and we need to select the file. So we have the file here. This first one. Okay, then go next. And we have basically two functionalities in this with this RIS format, because still we are having some limitations still since this software is being developed. Uh, uh, so only we have limited functionalities, but fortunately since we are going to do the keyword concurrence analysis, it's now active, right? So which means that we can perform the keyword concurrence analysis with that data set. So we can press the next button. And so these are the keywords, because our unit of analysis are the keywords, is the keywords mentioned in on each and every article that we have included for the review, right? So now you can say minimum number of occurrences of a keyword. A particular keyword have occurred 3 times or more. How many keywords? Only 3 keywords are there. A particular keyword, let's say X, has been occurred in the, let's say we have included 1,000 articles for the review. Let's say we have included 100 articles for the review. Retained articles are 100 articles. In those articles, we have a particular keyword, X keyword, that has been occurred 3 times or more. Only 3 keywords are there, right? So this is what this particular box means, right? So then when you decrease, right, the number, right? Let's say one occurrence, we have total keywords, 109 keywords are there in the list. If you increase the number 2 times, 2 occurrence, a particular keyword, there are 19 keywords. 3 time occurrence, only 3 keywords. After that, there are no keywords, which means that there are maximum occurrences only is number of occurrences, maximum number of occurrences are 3. The keywords are only the 3 keywords are there, which has maximum 3 occurrence in this data set, right? So keyword denotes a content of an article, right? So now let's decide, rather than taking 3 keywords, we need to find out a broader view of knowledge that has been addressed by the researchers, right? So then we decide to take each keyword mentioned in the article. Mentioned in the article list that we have included. So we mean that so we included all the keyword for our analysis. Then press next and keep as it is. And so these are the keywords summarized, right? So at this point, sometimes there may be unwanted keywords. Sometimes, let's say, if you go through this one, since we are talking about this workplace romance, unrelated keywords may be there, right? So those can be excluded at this level as well. Sometimes countries' names are there. Sometimes, as you know, some researchers mention the country's name as a keyword. Some researchers place analysis method. Say, for example, one researcher has used smart PLS, and she has mentioned smart PLS as a keyword in the on the abstract on the paper, right? So which may not be useful for our analysis. That's not reflected in our research objective and research keywords. Sorry, research questions. So in that case, we can exclude simply, right? So let's say, and also we have sometimes synonyms, right? So we have ICT. At the same time, we have the long sentence of this abbreviation, information and communication technologies. So which has the same meaning, same thing, right? Some researchers use only the abbreviation, and some other research maybe used using the same long terminology. So in that case, we can determine whether to include or exclude. So say for example, Pakistan, country's name is there. That is not needed. So if that is not needed for our analysis, which is not reflecting in our and research questions and research objectives, in that case, you can uncheck this, right? And you can see in this column the number of occurrences. See how the workplace romance has been occurred 22 times. Sexual harassment has been occurred in 5 times. Love contracts have been occurred with 3 times. At 3 times. Organizational behavior 2 times. Likewise, so these are only one times. We can arrange this in alphabetical order or ascending and descending order by clicking on this. Right? When you click this, simply it is ordered ascending order, and again click like this, then descending order. And when you click on this again, so you can order these because for example, when you know, at this level as well, you can simply determine whether some keywords are excluded or included. But remember, you are going to exclude the keywords, not the entire research, not the research that you are going to exclude, right? So you have already included the research. In that, unwanted keywords may be there, so that can be excluded. So one excluded, let's say this is not needed, this is not needed, right? So you can determine whether it is needed. So here you can see that different terminologies for the workplace Roman. When you order the from highest to the lowest, right? Workplace Roman is there, but you can see the same terminology, keyword has been used in research. You can find out the workplace. No, you can find the same word, and there, when it comes to this one, right? Similar social media, different terminologies are there. In that case, you can determine whether it is included or excluded. If you think that that can be excluded, try to exclude the one which has lower occurrence, right? Try to exclude and exclude the keyword that has very lower occurrence in article, right? So Zimbabwe is again a country. Let's say that is not needed. Similar words, social media. There are in fact no similar words in this, I guess. Right. So let's think that this is the final, right? So then we can finalize. Then we have this type of a handy diagram. This diagram says a lot. right? I will explain this thing later on once I discuss the point report writing. And this has different variety, different visualization. Because we visualize the entire research published or in the literature uh, as a diagram. We visualize the published knowledge like this. Now, based on this visualization, we can determine whether what are the areas that has been addressed commonly, what are the areas that has not been addressed commonly, what are the gaps prevailing, right? So to do that, we can use the density visualization map. In that, we can change the color codings. This one, right? So this color says uh, based on the color, we can determine whether a particular area of research has been widely addressed or not. The workviewer manual, you can download the manual here, and the logic behind this is explained in this manual. This mathematical algorithm is there in order to generate color code, right? So we have basically three colors: green, yellow, red, four colors in fact, and sorry, green, yellow, blue, and red. So these colors say something, right? So there is an algorithm written by the developer, and the color says, let's say, red color denotes more research on this area. Let's say workplace Roman, because we noted that 22 items are there, keywords are there, which has been addressed by the researchers. The keyword workplace Roman has been addressed by the researchers, plenty. More researchers have addressed the terminology, right? So then the red says more research. You can find the green area. Green red area says very low research. And yellow says about the moderate number of research, right? And blue says sometimes some keywords are in blue background. In this case, we can't find a blue any keyword in the blue background, but in some diagram, so you can find, which says that there are no research on that area, where maybe sometimes only one research, right? So that the number of research conducted may be depending on the context and the way how the data set generate the results, right? So this manual says the logic behind all this. If you have any free time, you can read the manual. And so you have in this, you can find, you can increase or decrease uh, the decrease, increase or decrease functionalities there, scroll up, scroll down functionalities there, and highlighting functionalities there, right? So when you double click on it, when you double click on a particular node, so you can find out the information, items 105, clusters, there are clusters, we can find out the clusters here. So cluster in the sense that the color, a particular color denotes the cluster, right? So here we have different colors: green color, light blue, dark blue, pink, purple, right? So we have different colors, and color denotes a particular cluster, and cluster denotes a particular theme. For example, this particular cluster addresses a particular theme. Our task is to find out what is this theme. And what is this theme? Basically, the workplace Romans research have addressed nearly 18 themes during the last 5 years, for example. So basically, 15 areas, nearly 18 areas have been addressed by the researchers. Our task is to find out what are those areas and reveal by using the thematic analysis. Our task is to find out the areas. Since we are expert, we can name by, we are supposed to directly go to each and every article. I will tell you how to do that later on. And these are the basics of this, and I will explain further on this once we get the point, especially in the report writing point. Right. So we have basically clusters, and we can change these clusters by using the parameters. Because with the limited time, I can't explain all these. So you can, since you know the basics, I believe you can play with this software. And so in my YouTube channel, I have several videos already uploaded, and you can watch them as well. Uh, Basically, then you have this pane here, and you can change uh, the view of this diagram by using, let's say, we can increase or decrease the value, the nodes, right? So you can do some alterations. We can increase like this the word here. uh, so handy functionalities are there. I believe you can play with this software later on once you get a free time. And I'm giving only the basics in this. And we have clusters, uh, and so we have, and you need to copy this diagram onto your particular destination, let's say onto your paper, right? So in that case, how you can do that? You can share this in a Google Drive. In your Google Drive, you need to log into your Gmail account. Uh, uh, After doing that, then when you need to press this button, once this is clicked, this entire diagram is automatically dragged into your Google account. And in that, you can basically generate, uh, let's say, Google Drive. So then automatically in my Google Drive, the entire software is saved. Right? The same thing in Google Drive. This is online version. Everyone can see. Anyone can see. Some even the journal editors and reviewers can see this. How can we provide? How can we provide that functionality in order to make it readable? So here you can copy, when you click this one, you can copy the QR code, right? So copy this and just under the O in the side of this particular diagram, you can paste, and you can see in all of my articles I have provided that sometimes this uh, nodes are not clear. Sometimes words are not clear, but scroll up and scroll down functionality enables you to read everything and understand what it is, right? So the journal reviewers want that, right? So in order to do that, we can provide the QR code. So that is available in the 16 and above version. Uh, so you can simply, when you go to this article, for example, so this is my latest publication. It is a review of work from home empirical research during COVID-19. This, as you can see, this is the prisma diagram. And you can see the QR code here. So when you scan this, automatically you are dragged into the software, which is saved on in the Google Drive, and you can have scroll functionality, and you can examine how this is created, how this was created, right? So you are supposed to provide the QR code that way. And right. So now I close this down. Right. So that is how we use when we are using only the Google information, right? Next one, we can use, let's say with the Google information, you get two articles. you are going to find out a new area, like for example, metaverse application in human resource management. Metaverse is a new area. Augmented reality for medicine, medical student training, 3D modulation for medical student training, surgical training, for example, right? So you find only two articles when you Google it. So in that case, two articles are no longer enough to do a systematic literature review. Then you need to find out more articles with other databases. Then you can go for the paid databases, but unfortunately we don't have that. But we don't have to worry about it, and we can use some other databases, especially when you come from medicine. You can use Cochrane register, PubMed, US government database for medical science research, PubMed database, freely available. You can download lot of data articles on that. Cochrane register is there. Is a UK-based organization maintained by Health Department, UK. And we have dimensions, freely available database, but it has limited functionalities when you are going to use Weaver or There are so many other softwares already developed for this systematic and bibliometric analysis. One is the Weaver. There are so many others, but among all these, the best one is the Weaver, right? So it offers handy functionalities. That's why people are using this Weaver. Very simple, easy to understand, manageable, and highly, very interesting to. Interesting diagrams are generated and eye-catching, right? So that's why people are using this, right? Let's say we are going to use lens.org, right? Lens.org is a free database. We just need to go to the Google and lens.org. Right, so this is the database, and you need to log in with your Google ID or ORCID ID. Since I have an ORCID, I'm logging with this. Right, now I'm in my account. So you select this one, fully works, then type workplace Roman, right? Then put asterisk mark, so quotation mark. Then simply search, very easy. So then you get 185 results, right? So now you need to screen it using the inclusion criteria that you have mentioned in your protocol. Let's say we got 2015, 2023. Refine it, and please remember to mention this one in the Prisma diagram if you are using two databases like this, right? So let's say Google, initially we got 268,000 results. Now, what is the amount? 185. 185 initially. We identified this number. Then we can refine it. Then reduced up to 74 articles. Then what is the difference? Difference need to be mentioned here. Because difference is the exclusion, excluded articles that must be revealed in the Prisma diagram. Article reduced by year. Let's say, let's look at this one here. Excluded automatically. Articles excluded by year range, out of the period. Year range, in other words, right? We have out of the period the number of 188 or something minus 74. What is the exact number? 74. The difference need to be mentioned here. So those are the articles we excluded. Right. Then we can use another criteria because we took only the journal articles. And we have journals by name. We don't want to specifically targeting one particular journal. We are taking all the journal articles. Therefore, we skip that journal. And if there are conference, we need to check whether there are no conference articles. Since we are excluding conference articles, since there is no any conference, we can skip that as well. And subject matter. So initially, those are the things that we want to highlight, that we want to search. Data range, identify type. So if you want to specifically study about a particular country region, we can select this one. Publication type. So we need to only take journal articles. Preprints, unknown, book chapters, books, dissertations, reference entries, all these need to be excluded, right? So and need to be reported here. Books, how many, book chapters, how many need to be reported, right? So we are taking only the journal articles. So now we have finally 50 articles, right? So let's see how many other inclusion criteria need to be considered. Open access, query tools, subject matter. Yeah, if you want to specifically highlight some keywords, take some keywords into workplace romance, check this one and need to be reported here, right? So we took articles which has the main keywords we considered because we earlier had one of the inclusion criteria mentioning about the keywords. Say, for example, keywords or the article which has only the keywords, which has only the workplace romance are considered, then you need to select the workplace romance only. Then you get only 6 articles, right? So likewise, suppose that we've done all this, then finally we need to export these results. Since we are running out of the time, already I have taken 12 minutes, but I think I need 30 more minutes to do the entire other remaining thing. But I'm going quickly try my best to finish all this. Right, here we need to export this result. Here you have this option export, and you can select, and we need to select CSV format, and so you need to uncheck if some other column if it is not needed. So I select all these columns and export. Right, that is automatically saved in the downloads. Then this one I have done it for you earlier, so I have the file in this. Here you can see this workplace Roman lens file. So then you need to open that. And this is the original downloaded file, and which has bibliometric information. This Excel sheet contains bibliometric information, database ID, the title, publish date, right? So this is the date the particular study or article published, and publication year, publication type. Since we took journal article only, you have the journal article. And source title is the journal title the particular article is published in. And you have basically abstract and keywords. Since we are going to use the keyword occurrence analysis, so we basically need to focus this column. This is very much important because keywords are the our main unit of analysis. So we can use this, right? So one by one, we need to review. Since this is a database, not like Google information. If it is a Google, then we need to do this functionality in the Mendeley software, right? But here, since we have downloaded all these files, basically we can manually at this level, when you uh, at this record screen and assess because uh, automatic exclusion is already done at the database function at the database level using database automatic functionalities. But we need to we need to complete the manual screening and the manual screening for methodological assessment. So those two can be done simultaneously by simply you need to drag down to make more spacious, right? So then check this one, click this one, and you have the not keywords. Go to the abstract column, then you just click this one, read independently. If you have three authors, the file need to be shared among the three authors, and manually all these three authors need to read the entire uh, abstract. And if the abstract provides sufficient information and to decide whether a particular article meets the inclusion criteria, then you can decide whether to include or not. If it is not meeting the inclusion criteria, you simply decide you can color it by another color. This is possible for exclusion, right? So that must be done at the end after doing all the reviewing process individually, because there is a point to discuss whether to include or exclude. So that at that discussion we can determine whether to include or exclude, right? Because we need to find out the inter-rater reliability, right? In case of a meta-analysis, but as I told you, this is not essential for the systematic literature reviews, right? So these are the possible articles for deletion, for exclusion, right? So you can color it by a code, color code. Then simply you can decide whether to include or exclude after doing individually, independently, after reviewing individually each and every article individually and independently, right? So, so this is how the CSV file is screened manually. Then let's assume this is the final data set that we have included. We have, after doing screening and eligibility checking, we got 35 articles. Now what we can do, directly we can go to the first viewer, create. In this case, you are supposed to use the second one. Since you are using database files, now you need to use this one. Now need to select lens database and select the particular folder, particular file. one file. Now second one, length. Here we have the second length.path of file. Next, and see in the previous one you had only two these functionalities, but in this file you have more functionalities, right? So that's why I'm recommending to use databases. But anyway, don't worry. Since we are using this keyword concurrence, so the information that we have is more than enough. We use author keywords. Then we can use here in this case, we have 24 keywords in this data set. And we use all these one occurrences and above. Then so we have this, we can exclude, let's say Pakistan is there, we can exclude that. And the same, since this is a different database, different network is created, right? Now done. The next step is, right? So now, let's say you want to merge, you want to take all these retained article, all the articles generated from Google and as well as lens.talk, which means that you need to consider about one database and the other one search engine, Google. And you need to merge all these information. These two files need to be merged. How we can do that? Here, these two files. One is Google information, right? Extracted from Mendeley, and the other one is CSV file directly extracted from lens.o. So then these two informations need to be merged. This is one file format and another file format. How you can do that? Merge. So for that, we can use another strategy. So first we have this file. This file need to be imported to the other Zotero reference manager because Mendeley does not have that functionality, right? Instead, the Zotero reference manager have that functionality, conversion facility. For that, we need to use the Zotero. Zotero is better than the Mendeley for reference management. So it is again open software and handy tool rather than when it comes to the reference management. It is more user friendly and easier to work rather than the Mendeley. Then I'm recommending when you are going to use reference management to use Zotero since it's free and have many more functionalities than the Mendeley, right? So we have the Zotero, similar like Mendeley. So this is the folder pane, item pane in a particular folder, and the item bibliometric informations are there, right? Now what we need to do is we need to bring RIS format, import RIS format into the Zotero, right? So we have, let's say, workplace Rome, and we can create a folder here by clicking this. Once that is created, you have, by giving a name, you have this type of a name. I have created already workplace Romans test. And I have imported RIS information downloaded from Mendeley into this particular folder, right? So now we have the Mendeley information in the Zotero, right? How you can do that? Go to File, Import, and we can select this one here. We can select the first one, go to Next, and we can select the relevant folder, relevant file, which is in the relevant folder. Let's say we have this one need to be selected and open, then automatically all this information is extracted into this particular folder. And check Control A, press Control A, then export items as a CSV file, right? So you need to export the entire information as a CSV file. I have done it earlier to save the time. So here is the Zotero folder. from Mendeley to Zotero RIS file, exported items from Zotero CSV file. Now we have the CSV file. Right? So now we have a same format. We have CSV exported from Zotero, and we have lens.org CSV. We have two CSVs. Now we can combine. Right? So we can combine manually. For example, open this and open this. Since we have already opened that, copy the relevant information publication year and paste on the publication year. Just you can make a note. This is Google, and after that you can copy this and paste here. So these, remember, these are Google, right? And source title are journal title. Journal title, here you have the publication title. Then copy it and paste here. So there are automatic conversion options are there, because with the limited time, I'm not going to explain that. The automatic functionalities are there. By pressing one button, you can combine all this information into one particular file. But the problem is you need to have the same column heading. Initially, we need to make the same column headings in the Zotero file. That's why it's taking time. That's why I'm not using at this moment. That so better you can use, you can manually merge all these only the relevant information only, because we need only the publication, article, keywords, and abstract. So that's those information are more than enough to run the keyword concurrence analysis and copy those informations and paste here. Then now you have let's say we can copy the title, an article title, the source title, publication type. Where is the publisher? So you must have the article title. Right. Here we have the article title, and you need to copy the article title from the Zotero file title. Right, and wrap text. So now select all these in order to find out the duplicates. Whether sometimes the Google information may be duplicated in the lens.org. So since maybe different journals are indexed in different common indexing informations, right? Sometimes Scopus, the journal may be Scopus index at the same time Web of Science index, right? So in that case, same article can be found in the Scopus website, Scopus database, as well as the Web of Science. Then when you are downloading to separate files, there is a high possibility to include the same article twice. So in that case, we need to exclude the duplicates, right? How you can do that? Highlight this one, and by using simple Excel functionalities, right? Here highlight cells and duplicate values. Here you can find the red values are duplicates, and you need to simply remove all these, right? So this one is a duplicate, and this one is a duplicate, right? You need to remove, right? So, and update the Prisma framework. Duplicates. We found 6 duplicates here. Right. That is done. And after doing all these necessary screening, then finally retained CSV file can be loaded to the Waspiver and generate the diagram, bibliometric diagram, keyword co-occurrence diagram. right? So that's all about extracting data. And so basically, how you can analyze the data, right? So basically, the analysis results are two types. Basically, descriptive results, as highlighted in the previous part. Uh, so we need to basically explain a profile of the database, demographics of the database, not the database, included articles, maybe sometimes how many articles included, how many reference numbers included, references included in each article, what site, how many citations received, whether it has an increasing trend or decreasing trend, how many journals that published those articles, right? So we need to, give a profile, or basically article characteristics need to be explained, and what let's say how many, what methodology they have used, right? So for example, if I show you one of my articles, here you can see, time span, journals 95, countries 18, because this particular work from home research has been published by 18 countries, right? We can get the, using this particular file, we have country information, uh, see here, source country. So here you can find the country this particular article produced, United Kingdom, United States, right? So based on this column, we can generate a separate output using simple Excel functionality. At the same time, we can use Weaver to generate a network, right? Generate a network. That network is highlighted here. Find that network. Here, United States, because this red is a cluster. Australia, Czech Republic, Croatia, Canada, and United States have been working collaboratively on this particular research, right? These countries have been working collaboratively. So the collaboration denotes a color, right? So different colors. So and these countries are interconnected. For example, the US studies have been cited by these Indian studies, and Indian studies have been cited by these. There are the connection, right? So that we can find this particular diagram says a lot. So we can explain this diagram using what we were, and we can give a link to the original file, right? So So that all coming under the descriptives, like article characteristics. Uh, right. So here, this particular table can be generated by. I didn't touch that software. Biblioshiny Biblioshiny R's Biblioshiny Bibliometric analysis software, but with limited time. Uh, Really hard to explain everything. So we can touch that another day. So this particular table was created by the Biblioshiny software, and how many references included, how many author keywords included, summarize all the things which is you know this particular database having all these information having in this database, in this article, in this list of articles summarized here, right? So all these are descriptive characteristics, right? So whether it has a citation decreasing trend, publication increasing trend, right, during the period, and and what journals and how many articles they published, what are the popular journals that this particular area of research published, influential journals we can find, and countries. United States is the influential country, and India is the second most important country that has published highest number of publication. US is the highest number because this size denotes number of publication, right? So, for example, country gap can be found. You simply want to highlight whether Sri Lanka has conducted a particular area. If that particular diagram does not include Sri Lanka's name, then you can, based on this diagram, you can simply say that there is a gap in Sri Lanka to do this particular area of research, right? So that's how we can find the contextual gap, right? So that's all about the descriptive, right? So descriptive results. So for example, you can identify whether it is an increasing trend by using simple Excel functionalities, by using simple pivot table functionality. You can highlight this one, and data, and insert, sorry, not data, insert recommended pivot tables. By clicking this, you can draw this particular diagram, right, chart. And again, this one can be created by using simple Excel function. Don't worry if you don't know about Voss River or Biblio Shiny. Simply you can, as highlighted in the previous session. So you can, by using simple date, because this is an Excel sheet. This is an Excel sheet, and so by using simple Excel functionalities, you can create more diagram, more outputs, right? So uh, So these are the descriptive statistics. So for example, if you have decided to include all the other types of articles, how many journal articles, how many books, how many book sections, how many theses you included. So in some cases, you need to include all these, right? So now how you the main results, right? So main results are the results relating to your research objectives. So that's basically keyword concurrence analysis. Basically, our key or main objectives was to find out the current knowledge and to find out the gap. Those are the two main objectives. For that, we use these two network diagrams. This is the keyword co-occurrence network diagram. This one is called keyword co-occurrence density visualization map, right? So the two versions created in this. This is the density visualization, right? So in this, you get all these are commonly investigated, have been commonly investigated, right? So this is the network diagram, right? So the same thing highlighted here. Same type of one. I have extracted these two diagrams from one of my research. You can read and understand how it has been reported. Since we are running out of the time. So keyword concurrence analysis is the keywords generated. When you go to this one, right? So another research extracted from another research. So these have clusters, and clusters are summarized in a table that must be reported in your report. Table 3, clusters, themes, and keywords with more than 5 occurrences. We decided to take more than 5 keywords which have more than 5 occurrences. We decided to take into analysis, right? Because once we enter the query search algorithm, we generated more articles, right? So the area is green human resource management, right? So basically, we decided to take all the keywords which has more than 5 occurrences, right? So nearly we got 3 clusters, 2 clusters, uh, 3 clusters, red cluster, blue cluster, and green cluster, right? This is the network diagram. So now cluster denotes a particular area. So we need to find out that area since we are an expert on that particular area by reading their findings. We need to, let's say, for example, this is the keyword, environmental knowledge. So this column cannot be filled at this moment. because this is the theme column. In order to find out a theme to particular cluster, to this particular cluster, we need to read each and every findings highlighted in this each and every article, and after reading all this and summarizing all these on the paper, we can determine whether there is a pattern, where there is a common theme, addressing all these keywords a common theme, right? So then after doing that, we can then determine a theme for this cluster. So this is thematic analysis. These are the keywords generated to this cluster. If you take environmental knowledge, right? So go to the environmental knowledge, go to the database, CSV file, and this is the CSV file, right? Go to the abstract, highlight that one. Let's say we need to find out the articles which address the, what is the keyword? Environmental knowledge, because this keyword has been generated, right? So clustered into this particular cluster, right? So now we need to find out what are the findings relating to this environmental knowledge. Now go to this file, Excel file, highlight that, what do you call it, the highlight the abstract column, and control F, press the control F, and type environmental knowledge. Then you can find articles which mention about environmental knowledge and read. So this is the first article generated, and read the entire abstract, right? So when you are reading, so that there are findings, right? Further, the findings reveal that employees' environmental knowledge can magnify the indirect effect of ethical leadership. So basically, this sentence highlights this particular model, because they have taken in ethical leadership as the independent variable, and green behavior is the outcome variable, and green HRM as the intervening variable, and ethical leadership, environmental knowledge as a moderating variable. So they found that environmental knowledge moderated this relationship. So this is the finding. So then this need to be summarized in our article. So how we can do that? So here, till we can't give a common name, right? So environmental in most now, so right, you need to report this one, and so you need to do the same thing and read each and every environmental knowledge related findings until you get to the end, right? So let's one by one, you need to control find until to the end, right? And you need to summarize the findings, and uh, 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 write all these findings in on the paper, and you need to write a paragraph on all these findings, one paragraph relating to all these findings. So this is the paragraph after control finding all these findings, right? So I have written like this: environmental knowledge. In most studies, environmental knowledge has been the moderating variable in various, because it in most of the studies, GHRM environmental orientation has been moderated by environmental knowledge. So that has been found by the research. That is the common idea highlighted in this paragraph. And likewise, we need to find out the other ethical leadership, how it has been found, how it has been investigated, green behavior, how it has been investigated in the studies, and green values. And you, because all these uh, keywords have been categorized into one cluster. Now, since you are the expert on this area, you can understand, you by reading and reading several times, you can understand whether there is a pattern, whether all these findings relate to a particular theme, right? Manually, that can be done. Or maybe whether particular all these findings address a particular theoretical phenomena, right? So now, in my understanding, in our understanding, So we determine, since all these things are behavioral kind of things, attitudinal kind of, cognitive kind of things. So therefore, we give a name as a common theme to this green psychological climate, right? Uh, because because green psychological, this particular cluster highlights green psychological climate, right? So once if there is green HRM practice in your organization, that results to create green psychological climate. So that has been proven by the research. But the green psychological climate has not been uh, 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 properly, even though the idea is addressed, the word is new, because this contribution, this new word is our contribution, right? So likewise, we can create themes. So these are the prevailing themes, right? So the red indicates the more research. In this, you can see light blue, all these keywords have been uh, located in the light blue environment, which means that very rare research on these areas. Then we can finally recommend that the research on green psychological climate need to do more research, need to have more research in order to have common understanding whether the green HRM impacts green psychological climate, because we have less evidence. Very few researchers have been conducted, nearly to one or two research are there. So therefore, more research need to be conducted. So this area is a gap. So that's how we can find out the gap. Simply, we can find out from this graph, we can find out the gaps. And from this graph, these color codings, we can find out commonly addressed knowledge, commonly addressed areas. So that's all about. Now we need to report all these findings in the reporting, right? So how what will be the report will look like, right? So, and what are the main ingredients according, because we are following Prisma framework. So title must be there. Prisma organization is there, which recommends, which provide guidelines. As I told you, there are 27 items prescribed for us to follow. So as you can see, here is the Prisma organization. Right? So here Prisma, all the instructions and guidelines are there. You can freely go through this site. Now I have followed in this, in my whole articles, I have followed all the 27 items and tried to incorporate, fulfill all the requirements that they have prescribed, right? So therefore, I recommend you to follow my article. There are nearly 7 or 8 articles specifically, and there are 5 articles on the way. Uh, so soon they will be published. So then you can go through. I'm updating my information in my social media channel and social media accounts. You can download those articles once I publish all these. So soon published, then I normally notify the publication through my social media. Right. So this is where, for example, the first criteria says about mentioning the word systematic literature review in the title. So that's the first criteria of a Prisma framework, right? So you can see in all of my articles, I have incorporated, let's say, systematic literature review, a review of work from home, empirical research during. I have initially incorporated this one, the word systematic literature reviews, but authors suggested me to keep only this one. But theoretically, the systematic literature review must be there in order to comply with the Prisma guideline. right? The title must be systematic literature. Let's say workplace Roman, colon, a systematic literature review, right? So that's one criteria. Then abstract, there are guidelines. So what informations you need to include in abstract, right? So basically, and keywords. So in the first paragraph, basically, first paragraph, we need to organize it as into the background, right? So you need to provide the introduction to the topic. And second paragraph, current knowledge. So you can, since you already have gone through several times each and every abstract, now you know what are the theories they have used, what are the prior studies, and what keywords they have addressed, and what are the antecedents, what are the factors, what are the outcomes, what are the moderators. Because since you have gone through the entire database articles already, then at the writing stage, you are having the idea about what are the current knowledge, right? So then summarize in a one paragraph. Maximum you can write A4 half size paragraph. And third paragraph, gap. So basically, why you are going to do this study, right? Gap. Please don't confuse with this word. Gap in the sense that the gap uh, basically need to highlight why you need to do this research study, not the gap that we are going to highlight in the research, in our research, that we are going to find out in our research. Gap in the sense that whether there are review studies have been already conducted on the same. If there are no studies, then there is a gap. So that's why we are doing this. Sometimes you may find there are similar studies. Let's say workplace Romans study is there. When you Google it, someone has done the same thing. And so you are planning to do the same thing, right? So why you are doing the same thing again? In that case, you need to distinguish, differentiate that study from your study. Maybe sometimes they have used only Google. I'm going to use 5 databases to cover more articles. Maybe sometimes they have used another year range. I am going to use a broader year range. Their inclusion criteria may be different than mine, right? So you need to distinguish if you can find out some research or particular research. If there are no research, no review studies, then specifically you can mention no research studies, no review studies on this. Therefore, in order to fill that gap, I'm doing this. We are doing this, right? So, and just I believe all the other things simply I will provide this handout to you. Then since we are running out of the time, uh, I'm deciding to wind up. So if you can basically ask if there is any question. And so here results and findings, basically you need to mention study selection. You need to explain the Prisma diagram. So they have updated in 2020. The latest update need to be used. Earlier we had 4 screening stages. Now they have reduced it to 3 stages. So that is the one I used, 2020 diagram. And in that need to be explained. For example, you need to explain this one, right? You need to explain how many articles initially identified, then how many duplicated, removed, and likewise. You need to explain the entire process by your own words. You can refer my one of all of my articles, then can learn how I have framed that paragraph, right? So I believe since I have provided all these articles and all of them are SLRs, then so you better refer them and understand. I gave the basics and the framing and writing style, everything. All these articles try to fulfill all the requirements of Prisma guideline. So then I recommend you to follow all these articles and cite them where appropriate.